When Comair experienced these safety problems, you visited the operator. What did your preliminary investigations uncover?
The investigations, in short, uncovered that the airline was not following their safety management system, as well as how they actually have detailed in their approved safety management manual to us that was approved by the CAA in terms of risk. So there were some gaps there. They were doing certain things, but there's other things that we still want them to demonstrate to us that they are doing properly. At this point, the decision was made because we could not reach that point. Now, because issues of safety management are actually critical, because this is how you demonstrate whether you're able to avoid or avert future occurrences. If you then are not doing it properly, the likelihood is that you're going to be experiencing a number of safety-related incidences. And to avoid something that we do not know, it was important then for us to say, hold on, can we just stop operating for 24 hours and demonstrate to us whether you're doing this sufficiently? But they were unable to do that at the end of the expiry of the 24 hours, and we were therefore not left with no choice but to extend the suspension.
I mentioned earlier some of these safety incidents. There was an incident when an engine failed on a Kulula flight. The pilot issued a mayday call on the plane, and its 157 passengers landed safely, thank goodness, at OR Tambo. A British Airways flight had to make emergency landing as well shortly after it took off for Johannesburg in East London. There was another Kulula flight that had to divert to OR from Lanseria after an engine-related issue. If these safety concerns, Pindiwe, were identified over the last couple of weeks, why was this license only suspended this past weekend?
The nature of civil aviation operations, Clement, is such that the system should be able to self-correct. And this is the reason why it is a requirement for all operators to submit a safety management system, because they are demonstrating to the regulator how they are going to successfully manage their risk. And in their safety management manuals, for instance, they would detail what type of incidences would cause them to do a risk assessment and introduce mitigation actions. So ordinarily, if experiencing an incident is not something that is out of the blue, it happens in many operations, for instance. However, what caught our attention was the recurring incidences. And you will recognize, you just mentioned that now, that one of those flights was carrying about 157 passengers. So from where we're sitting, this is not a situation that we can just sit back and say, oh no, it's going to self-correct. We trust that the operator will be able to do what they need to do, and that when we go to them in our annual scheduled inspection, we would find that everything is working well. So when then there's a series of them, there's a spate of them, it is reason enough for us to say, okay, we can't wait for the time that we're going in for our audit. Let us go and see what is actually happening. But in the normal course of business, an incident happens, but there is a proper way to close it. And all of those processes are documented in terms of civil aviation regulations. So when the inspectors come in, they're able to then check back and say, okay, how did you close that incident? But then when they're happening too often and close to each other, like we've just seen, it's reason for us then to say, no, let's go and check, because perhaps something is not working that well.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions,
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.